Hello everyone, episode 30, Road to Superbowl, your soon-to-be favorite podcast about NFL in the off-season is here. Today we're gonna talk about Kansas City Chiefs. So what are we doing here? What is this podcast all about? Pretty much we try to give you insight over the whole organization regarding each and every single NFL team. More than just looking at the quality of the players, we are trying to assess how their ability reflects in their contract, how what they are being paid are kind of reflects in the ability of this team to make a run to Super Bowl, which is, I think, in the end, what all teams are trying to do. We talk like how is their 3-year window, because like 5-year window is way too much before the draft. I feel like we will do some adjustments post the draft process. We will put up a longer perspective, but for right now 3 years seems like enough. How we do that? First we talk about what this team did in 2023 season. Then, if the situation is for that, we talk about free agency as a whole. If not, free agency is discussed through the rundown. Rundown is when we actually look at the players, actually their faces, for their player cards that are designed for the purpose of the series. Also, we get to know what their cap hits are, so effectively what is the cost for every single team to have them on the roster, and not in terms of actual bucks that are getting paid, but in terms of how they count against cap hit. Cap hit, obviously, for European viewers is something we don't really have in our sports. For American viewers, it's something that's actually not that new, obviously. It's like, 40 years, something like that, in American sports. And it's absolutely essential to work with it in terms of being able to extract the most value. I think that's one of the key roles of general management, is to be able to assess players' worth in terms of both their contracts, their current ability for the roster, their Super Bowl windows, etc., etc. So this is where we kind of make our money on this podcast, because that, I think, is really a perspective that not that much is being talked about. So we will try to assess how players are worth, not only based on their abilities or potential, but also based on their contracts. With the rundown, we take a look at weaponry, which contains quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. O-line, just an O-line, but with D-line, we also talk linebackers, secondary, safeties, and cornerbacks, and with coaches, we also take a look at special teams. For each team, we have 3 specific topics that are not necessarily common. They are not like a part of every single team, because they are topics that are specific to the team we discuss. So, for example, for Kansas City Chiefs, I could not resist the GOAT picture here, and the question is really, is the debate on right now? Like, is the debate for Mahomes as a GOAT already on? And does it matter? That's kind of my philosophical status on this one. But yeah, that's one specific topic, is what is Mahomes right now? Is he kind of already the GOAT? Can we even discuss that, with Tom Brady actually like being a GOAT? Or what? Where the debate stands on this one. Then for Chiefs, it's money responsibility. It's how they actually treat the salary cap, how they push or not push money down the line. And when you see they are money responsible, you kind of know where I'm heading. They really treat this exceptionally. And the third one is just catch the ball, obviously referring to the wide receivers problems that Chiefs faced last year and could face this season as well. I can either discuss these topics as specific things, or they will be discussed through the rundown, or perhaps through last year discussion. So, with that being said, let's just start and let's talk about 2023 season for the Chiefs. And at the end of the day, what is there to say, man? Like, they won a Super Bowl again in a year where it's not like they weren't one of the favorites, but they were not unanimous like number 1 team in the league. They were thought to have like several holes in the roster before the season started. There were questions with Chris Jones and his salary and his contract. There were injury concerns for Travis Kelce. And actually the question was who is going to catch the ball. And then the first week came, Detroit came to town and kind of beat their ass, right? And questions arised. But at the same time, for that week 1, they did not have Chris Jones, right? He came back a week after that, and the season did not go as smoothly as I think they maybe would like to, but definitely after he came back, they won 6 in a row. They still struggled. For the first time in like 5 years, they lost to Broncos, they lost to Eagles at home, they got beaten at Lambeau by the Packers, they lost to Bills, they lost to Raiders. Like, they lost to a lot of teams, right? But they could have, because Chargers were a mess, Broncos were, actually like the second best team in the division, but they kind of shoot themselves in the foot in the way they handled the Russell Wilson situation. And Raiders were, at least for the first part of the season, were a mess. So for Chiefs, actually, to win the division, it was not so hard. You can then question okay, but what about first seed? That's highly beneficial to be first seed. If you are Chiefs, that's where you should be aspiring, right? Yes, of course. And that's why there were a lot of questions for the Chiefs entering the playoffs, because, okay, they just did not seem like this super dominant team. Like Patrick Mahomes, I'm not even sure if he made a Pro Bowl. Let's check this one out. Did he make a Pro Bowl in 2023? Okay, let me check once more. Yeah, he actually made a Pro Bowl. Okay, but it was like even close that a lot of people were saying like he should have not make a Pro Bowl, right? And if you really want to have the debate, I don't think you have too many legs to stand on. He was still really good. He was being let down by the team, but I feel like I get why this talk actually got more heated, more serious, because it was actually not the Chiefs offense that was scaring the shit out of teams, but it was Chiefs defense, right? They, under Steve Spagnuolo, they really looked very, very well, and they were what actually I feel like was a brighter side of the ball for the regular season for the Chiefs. And it's not like that disappeared through the playoffs either. But then the playoffs came, and all of people were questioning Mahomes, for the first time, he's not going to be playing at Arrowhead in these key moments. He will have to go to Buffalo, he will have to go to Baltimore, and he's gonna struggle. Nope, he didn't. Yes, at Buffalo, they got kind of lucky with them missing last second field goal, not last second, it was 2 minutes before, but actually missing the tying field goal very late in the game. But Mahomes was quite good. Was not exceptional, but he was just good enough to win there. He was definitely good enough to beat Baltimore, and did he save the best performance for the San Francisco? 325 yards. Yeah, you can take that when you know what you are facing when you are facing 49ers defense. But at the end of the day, they just won a Super Bowl, right? It was this beautiful mixture of Patrick Mahomes playing his ass off when it matters, really stepping up his game through the playoffs, being the guy that in some cases just wills his team, whether it's by runs that he doesn't do that much, precise throws, actually being an annoyance in the pocket, kind of avoiding sacks. He won at Bills, at Ravens, at beat 49ers in the finals. What is there to say? Obviously, he had a lot of help, specifically from the defense. Chris Jones, what a monster he turns himself into for every single playoff, is absolutely crucial. One of the, for a playoff, I would argue that he is the best defensive player in the league. Like based on his performance last, or 3 to 5 years in the playoffs, I don't think there was a defensive player having that much of an impact overall as Chris Jones. Like that's a high praise given that it's like 3 years ago when Aaron Donald Rams won a Super Bowl, but I would argue Chris Jones was even better, like overall performance, than Aaron Donald in the run. He was exceptional. And for Mahomes, like yeah, was the team questioned? Were they actually, like, they were not favorites, right? They at Ravens they were like 2-1 underdog. At Bills it was like plus 230, plus 130, and even like against Dolphins, like everybody was saying like Dolphins is gonna freeze their asses off at the Arrowhead. Like everybody was saying that, yet they were just 2-1 favorite. Like it's not like the Chiefs were, even against Dolphins they were getting like 3.5 or 4 points to win the game. Like, you know, even against Dolphins they were clearly like on the decline without Bradley Chubb, without I'm sorry, like I think Javon Holland was not there, Connor Williams was not there, like without a ton of players. Chiefs at home at Arrowhead against like a spring to summer team Dolphins only was getting 4 points or 3.5 points. Like that's how, like, even Vegas view, okay, Chiefs, this might not be your year. And yet again, we are here. They have Lombardi and they can smile their asses off. So what is there to say? Exceptional season. So that was it for 2023. Let's move not exactly to free agency. I want to go straight to the weaponry because we will talk the biggest news for this franchise in there. So for everyone who is new to this, here we will give you player cards of good contributors for 2023 or the perceived good contributors for 2024 for each and every single team. So you might see here players that are not on the roster anymore. So let's go. Patrick Mahomes, Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, Cornell Powell, Mecole Hardman, Marquise Brown, Travis Kelce, and Noah Gray. Here is the table how this group was counting against cap hit before the free agency started, and here is where we are right now. There are a couple of players that I don't have here that just recently made got signed here. It's not like they are the most important guys for this. They re-signed Edwards-Helaire, 1 year, 1.7 million. Clearly, like a second running back, really backup veteran type of option. Carson Wentz, 1 year, 3.3 million as a backup QB. Irv Smith, backup tight end for 1.3 million. Really good backup type of players, signed for 1 year. Really should not be an influence, but they are just here in case of injuries. And for Hiller, he's gonna get some carries for sure, but I would not be surprised if they actually drafted a running back, because you don't know if you want to resign Pacheco 2026 forward, because I mean his playing style is super hard on his body, and I am worried about his longevity in terms of NFL. The saying that he runs as he wants to punish the grass that he's running on, like, is really something that commentators say a lot, and it's actually true. But in terms of longevity for a running back, like, he plays super hard, great for him, great for Chiefs. But at the same time, it's kind of detrimental to his long-term career, I feel like. For Patrick Mahomes, I did not add all of his years that he signed for, because he signed a 10-year contract, and I didn't want to make table twice as longer just for Mahomes. And let's just talk now about the question of a GOAT. So, is it too soon? More likely, yes. Is he better than Tom Brady? I mean, I kind of want to say yes, man, but that's where I go philosophical. Like, does it matter? Like, it matters for some pools. It matters for some online debates. Like, you can argue about this, just to keep yourself occupied, keep, kind of even like hate on Mahomes or hate on Brady. And at the end of the day, it's always going to be an opinion. You can base it on like a lot of stats. You can, based on these stats, it's like, I mean, it was Winston Churchill who said, "I don't trust any statistics that I haven't made by myself," and by made he meant not really in a sunshine way, like kind of fabricated in his own way. And it's not like I hate on statistics, but I'm pretty sure I can make statistical case for goatish players for like 10 or 15 of them. Like, I really feel like when you try to pick apart statistics, you can get, because of this, I don't know, based on the percentage of won finals, Eli Manning was twice in the Super Bowl. He was actually playing the GOAT. He beat him twice, so maybe he is now the GOAT. Like, no, he's not. But again, if you pick a particular statistic like beating the best QBs in the world in the Super Bowl, like Eli Manning is best than that. Like, there is no one that has beaten the best or arguably the best QB in the sport in the Super Bowls twice. Like, there is no one like that. Okay, so maybe Eli Manning is a GOAT. No, he's not, but you get me. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's something to talk about by drinking. It like when it's like fun topic to discuss, when you are laughing about it, and when the result actually does not matter. I'm a huge fan of it, but when it's like actually creates animosity and anguish in people, like I'm really like, what's the purpose? So to me, again, if I'm just like super glad that I get to enjoy him playing the same way I get to enjoy Tom Brady, despite I only enjoyed like his last 7 years of his career, or 8 or 9. Like, yeah, it's more like a 9. But just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy the greatness. You are watching something spectacular. Like for me as a soccer fan, Messi versus Ronaldo. Like, I'm a fan of Messi. I would say he's the best, but at the end of the day, doesn't really matter. Like, when I can, bitch about it against my friends next to a beer, it's okay. If I would be like really not sleeping because someone said Ronaldo is better, I'm like, dude, that's just such a waste of time. So Patrick Mahomes, for me, definitely an elite QB. What is there to say? Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, kind of in an elite tier as well. I would have Patrick Mahomes over all of them. Though I feel like, though it's like hard to say that some of the highs of Josh Allen, like, he sometimes feel the most unstoppable as a QB, but then he loses to Mahomes. So it's like kind of hard to say that, for one game, highs, I would pick Allen because he lost to Mahomes several times when it mattered. So Mahomes all the way. And I'm not a fanboy. Like, I really, in this division, they would be like my second or third favorite team. Overall, I like Joe Burrow much more. I like Justin Herbert much more. I like, obviously, Russell Wilson much more. So it's just, to me, it's just how I feel about him in like most rational way I can. So now let's talk about the second huge topic for this team, and that's catching the ball. And here you have a problem. Like, first of all, last year the wide receivers were really letting Patrick Mahomes down. Like, the amounts of dropped balls were ridiculous. They were really bad, and kind of your not only bright spot, because I think Sky Moore actually was kind of decent, but Rashee Rice was definitely the best performing wide receiver last year. But he is now in a huge trouble. If you don't know it, he was part of a huge car accident that he and his probably friend from college was speeding, and they caused a huge collision. Fortunately, nobody died during the accident, but there were some injuries. Should not be permanent one, but that's yet to be decided. But his future in NFL, I would not be surprised if he faces pretty long suspension, and he might even end up in jail based on what happened, because he was really danger out there. So, I don't want to pile much more into this. But it's a problem. It's really a problem. Because you've signed Marquise Brown 1 year, $8 million. Good. I feel like he can prove to, really get on track if he's committed, which I feel like when you are in Kansas, you are getting play called by Andy Reid, you are getting the ball thrown by Patrick Mahomes, you have a huge chance to win a ring. If he doesn't commit to the ball here, I feel like he should just hang up his cleats, because there is no better situation. But still, even with Rashee Rice and Marquise Brown, this would still be kind of meh group of wide receivers, and potentially with Rashee Rice not being there, it's quite a problem. It's less of a problem because you have Travis Kelce, arguably the best tight end in the football. You can make that case for Kittle as well, but I think these two are definitely the creme de la creme of the tight end position. You hope he still plays, he doesn't, join his brother on the podcast or just doesn't travel with Taylor the whole year. I believe he, at least for 2024, he should be back. And he kind of will mitigate the trouble you have with wide receivers, because he is kind of most likely your best target no matter what. But you definitely cannot do everything with Travis Kelce, and you need some wide receiver help. So this is clearly a position that a lot of people believe they will draft, and yeah, I'm with the same opinion. And not only because of that, but Kadarius Toney, he's here, but I'm not sure if he ever plays another snap for the Chiefs. Based on what happened there, they definitely won't pick up his fifth option. So even if he plays, he's here for 1 year. The same for Watson, the same for Brown, the same for Powell. So you essentially have Sky Moore and Rashee Rice signed for 2 or 3 years. With Rashee Rice, you don't know the situation. So you might have one wide receiver that is good backup type for next year at this point of time. So I think for sure, wide receiver is a huge need. Then when you go to tight ends, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, really great group, obviously because of Travis, but Noah Gray by himself is also quite a nice NFL starter. When we talk about Pacheco, very good starter. I mean, I really like his style. I like that he plays hard, but he still kind of fumbles a lot, drops a lot. I think very good starter is a good rank for him. I feel like if you want to make a case for an amazing starter, I don't have an issue. I would have an issue with just a good starter. I think he's better than that. But there was just too many mistakes in his game for me to make him an amazing starter. So how would I rank this group? I will give it A. I definitely cannot give it A+, because where are the wide receivers? But I cannot go lower than that, because you have an elite tight end, you have the best quarterback in the league, and you have some semblance of wide receivers while having really good running back. So A type of group, but obviously Mahomes is the reason, and Travis and Pacheco. Okay, let's continue, and we will check the offensive line, which is part of this team that actually is not talked that much, but it's a huge strength, but it has some issues. Just now, let's meet the players by their playing cards. So I give you a couple of seconds to put your eyes on your screen. And we go. So Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, Javon Taylor, Vanya Morris, Trey Smith, Lucas Niang, and Donovan Smith. So here we are before the offseason started, and here we are right now. So pretty much what happened is nothing huge. Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith both got like pay jump by the NFL because they really outplaying their deals, and these are the guys that for coming next year they will require payment, and given guard money right now, you might look at both guys wanting somewhere around 20 million a year, and deservedly so. But will the Chiefs be able to afford them? But for this year, you don't have that problem. You have another problem, and that problem's name is Jawan Taylor. You signed him last year for a huge deal that it was like the athleticism is there, but there's a reason why Jaguars don't want to resign him, or definitely like don't want to give him that type of money. And he was just bad. Like, in terms of contracts in the league, this is one of the worst. Like, he's just an under average right tackle. Like, it's not even the premium left tackle position. He's under average right tackle. And like, he actually kind of had his worst year, man. And it's like really hard to have your worst year when like you are actually part of a really good O-line beside you. And like definitely in terms of guard that plays next to you. And the center and the quarterback. Like, for as much as I would want to praise this like this management, this is a huge mistake they've made. And like they will most likely stick with him for this year, quite probably for next year as well, because the dead cap hits are just way too high to eat them. Like, regards like how much you save is just really not that much. Then after 2025, you are saving 20 millions if you release him. So yeah, that's kind of a silver lining that in 2 years you can get rid of that shitty contract. But like, if for example you would about to cut him post this season, you would not save that much because his contract is really with a lot of guaranteed, like 60 million guaranteed. So if he was cut post this year, you would still eat the whole dead cap for 2025 and still 4.7 million for 2026. So essentially, like you are stuck with him for 24 and 25 because you are saving literally nothing by releasing him post this year or actually this off season. Like, that's how ridiculous this contract is. Even this franchise can make a mistake, and John Taylor was definitely one. Like, you hope that with another off season, with this coaching staff and everything, he can figure it out. Like, the athleticism is there, but boy oh boy, this is a tough one to swallow. Like, when you are paying essentially 10th of your cap hit to a guy that like is borderline replacement player for another premium position, that's ugly. But they kind of can afford it, at least for this year, because they have Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith on still rookie deals. What is there to say? Both were an absolute hit. Like, with Creed Humphrey, it was actually expected because he was, for a lot of people, the highest graded center in 2021 draft, I believe it was. And he plays to that level. He's top 3 center in the league easily right now. Trey Smith, much more of a surprise. He was a very late round pick, but they made him work, and he's been one of the best guards pretty much since he entered the league. But both of these guys will need to get paid next off season, and it's going to be interesting what the Chiefs will do with them. For Trey Smith, he was 226th pick, and yeah, he's playing like top 15 guard in the league easily. I would say top 10 also easily. Then you have Joe Thuney, another probably even better guard. Like, the inside of this offensive line is just ridiculous. It's easily the best in football. I mean, just inside. Then you have tackle issues, right? You have not re-signed Smith, but I still do expect that, him for 1 year, 3 to 4 millions. Why not? I feel like his veteran presence still a good quality player. That like he is kind of like in terms of performance, he's on a similar level to Javan Taylor, just like 22 millions cheaper. Obviously playing left tackle. I feel like given that the cap is kind of strapped, despite, because you have Chris Jones, you have Travis Kelce, you have Patrick Mahomes, that you are paying quite a chunk of money. I would not be surprised if they resign him. He's still out of contract. He was decent for them. He was problem for some games, but he at least knows it here. He could be very cheap veteran option. But there might be some other like more expensive veteran options like David Bakhtiari that you are taking a risk on, which I don't really feel like this franchise actually have to. So if I could choose between David Bakhtiari for like 1 year 12 millions or Donovan Smith 1 year 3 millions, I would take Smith. Not to say that actually Bakhtiari for 12 could give me much more value, but I would be taking a risk with Smith. I feel like I know that I'm not getting a great player, but I have a serviceable O-lineman for the league, and I'm kind of I don't have really that much of health issues that with David Bakhtiari, unfortunately, I would have to count on, and I don't need to take those risks. At the same breath, I would say tackle is absolutely clearly another position that Chiefs will invest a draft pick at. Whether it's, for 2026, replacement for Javan Taylor, or at the moment starting left tackle, which is kind of much more likely, but you get the gist that, you can even make a case for someone to be a long-term replacement for Taylor, because I just don't see a world in which you are not cutting him post 25. Clearly, one thing you have to address. How would I rank this group? I mean, put Donovan Smith in. This is A-. Without him, right now, I would call it B to B+. I have to give it a B+, because that inside is just ridiculous. Javan Taylor is, despite me like kind of blasting him, he is, probably top 30 right tackle in the league. Like, okay, he's not worth the contract he has, but it doesn't mean like he should not be started somewhere. But if the money should reflect it, his quality, it's much more like 8 to 10 millions a year rather than 25. So B+ for this offensive line with absolutely incredible insight, and more than likely they will draft a tackle in this draft. So now let's go and meet the defense, specifically the defensive line. Here, let's start with Charles Omenihu, George Karlaftis, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Isaiah Bucks, Chris Jones, Tershawn Wharton, Derek Nnadi, Nick Bolton, Michael Dana, Leo Chenal, Drew Tranquill, Willie Gay Jr., and that's it. As you can see, they had a lot of players not under contract before the offseason started. And here's where they are right now. So, all right, let's start with Chris Jones. They've resigned him to 5 years, $150 million. It needed to happen. Like, he is just a special player. Like 5 year, $158.75 million. I mean, he's just a special player, man. What is there to say? And it's not like when we will talk Jerry Sneed, whom they traded. It's not like with him that they would actually have like a replacement for him, because Chris Jones for this D-line is absolutely crucial piece. I feel like they can survive in the secondary, or they can even thrive in secondary without L'Jarius Sneed, but without Chris Jones, this defense, especially this line, is just meh. You just needed him. And it's not only the moves, or not the only moves they made. They also re-signed Mike Dana for 3 years, 24 million. Good signing. I think he's worth 8 million a year. It's a good value. You obviously kind of missing the great piece from the edge. Karlaftis is good. Uzoma, you hope he's gonna develop. Bucks, Omenihu, alright. But inside, Mike Dana is gonna help there. But without Chris Jones, this position is just you pretty much don't have players there. So clearly, I would say they will still draft a defensive tackle in this draft. Their edge is kind of several rotational players with some potential, with Karlaftis, Uzoma, and even Bucks. That they were kind of hope that they will develop. You kind of hit like Karlaftis in his 2 years, has been proved good player. He's not necessarily like he would be a good number 2 for a lot of edge groups. Here's kind of good number 2 to Chris Jones, who like is a pass rusher from inside. But in terms of edge, there's definitely something left to be desired. And in terms of inside, you don't have depth really that much. So definitely an area that you need to address. Overall, the D-line without Jones is meh. With him is kind of mid-table. And then you have really good linebacker room with Bolton, with Tranquil, who you resign, and with Leo Chanel. With Tranquil resigning here, like I don't have problem with money they gave him, but I actually feel like Chanel is on the same level, or actually like in my eyes, it just ticked for me the good starter. So that's why I'm saying like they are kind of on the same level, because I have Tranquil like really knocking on the door of good starter ranking, and Chanel just slightly beyond that threshold. So I think they are very, very close. So in that case, like, do you really need to resign Tranquil? Maybe they are preparing to lose Nick Bolton or trade him, though he is still their best linebacker by far. Not by far, but he's their best linebacker. Or like they can all play together, like they can rotate. They are in terms of depth, like no one has second third linebacker to be the scene starter. I think for several teams, Drew Tranquil would be their best linebacker, and for most of them, he would be a great number 2 option. So kind of weird to have 3 good linebackers. That's really not where league is heading, but alright, I do not doubt them. I have no problem with resigning Tranquil, because again, despite last year, you have all of them on the roster. Chanel played 500 snaps, Tranquil 700, Bolton also 700. Like, why not? No issue there. Overall, how I would rank this. I will go with B. Like, edge clearly is something you are not exceptional at by any stretch of imagination, but your linebackers are really, really good. You have Chris Jones that kind of fills the role of a pass rusher for this team, and you have good depth on the edge. I mean, B to B minus, like minus would be there, because like if Chris Jones gets injured, like this could really fall apart in terms of quality. And also like depth is not there, but I would still stick with B. Maybe giving too much the benefit of doubt in terms of, Mike Dana is a good reassignment. And Chris Jones does not really struggle with injuries, and they will definitely draft to this position. Yeah, I will stick with B, and I don't feel like I'm betraying my rankings here. Okay, so now let's check secondary. Justin Reed, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, Brian Cook, Joshua Williams, Shamari Connor, Jalen Watson, and Mike Edwards. So here we are before the offseason started, and here we are right now. So let's address the elephant in the room, L'Jarius Sneed and his trade. Third round feels like it's not enough. It feels like he should be worth at least the second round. And I would say yes, but clearly this offer just wasn't on the table. Otherwise they would have taken it. And prolonging the situation, I think, could make them miss on some free agents because he obviously was on 18 million franchise tag deal. So by trading him, you got rid of that money, and then you can resign like McDonough. And he was kind of expendable. Like, not that he would still not be the best cornerback here. I think he would. But Trent McDuffie took a second year leap. Like, he is exceptional. You have him with the potential of 5th-year option for 2076. So you have him for 3 years on rookie deal. And I will play it safe. He's top 20 cornerback in the league. I would argue that he's higher, but when you want to play it safe, like, you just put larger group in order to be absolutely certain. And with Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson, you are going cheap there, and you still are not going poor. Like, they are both players that can play, showed it on numerous of snaps. You have the whole group for next 2 years, like when you talk about cornerbacks, and like those are the moves that the franchises that want to stay on top has to eventually do. You will eventually have to let go of some amazing players, and you have to identify where you can afford it and how to make the most out of it. So to making the most out of it, maybe that's just not what happened. But at the same time, like, you could ask, like, maybe they could have traded him before last year, but without him they might not win a Super Bowl, right? So you are kind of missing the biggest value points for trading those players, because they will help you win the Super Bowls or will help you reach your goals for that season. So at the end, you are not getting the biggest pay you could get. Like, definitely if you were to trade him last of season, second and third, or even like late round first, would definitely be on the table. Like, L'Jarius Sneed is that type of shutdown corner. Like, he is top 10. He's really great player. I feel like if he was here, this was the only cornerback room that can get close to what the Jets have, who still have Jets higher over them because Sauce is just on another planet, but they would be really, really close. And then the good things are not ending there, because in terms of safeties, you have a veteran in Justin Reed who, like, is slightly overpaid, I would say, for my liking. And let me just check how much they would save if they cut him, because I feel like first you have your options in Connor and Cook that could play as a starting safety duo without Justin Reed. And second, there is still a lot of veteran safeties on the market. Yeah, that cap is only 3.5 million. So I'm actually a bit surprised that they have not cut him, because saving almost 11 millions on just a good starting safety where the league's at, it makes sense. But it seems like they just did not need to. They were like, okay, we will do this with L'Jarius Sneed. Justin Reed gives us really still a good play. We don't have him on the roster for 25, so it's okay. It's not like we are saving money in the long term. It would just be about the season. But he's definitely a player that if he is going to eventually get cut, I will not be surprised, because he would open an 11 million for this team, and there are still some interesting veterans on the market. Like we talk about Bakhtiari, for safeties you can talk Justin Simmons, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams in some worlds. I would not be surprised if he's eventually gonna get cut. But why would you cut him right now if you don't have like a necessity. They don't need to do it right now. If the opportunity comes out that, maybe Justin Simmons want to sign for like $6 million 1 year deal, then I would probably make the switch, though Justin Reed is obviously part of this franchise for several years right now. Brand Cook, Jamari Connor, your hits. Like, Connor was really good in his year one from being like not undrafted, but like 6th round, if I'm not mistaken. Like this team is doing really almost everything. Jawan Taylor, I'm looking at you, but almost everything they are doing right. No, it was actually 4th round, 119th pick of the draft. But still, for him to show off in this way for year one, he actually played safety, not the cornerback. I already said it that like their playing position here are taken from Sport Track. So for him, I actually put him as a safety because he definitely play there. For money you are paying, it's an exceptional group. Overall, this is definitely a good group. I will give them B. Like, you don't have troubles. Even with L'Jarius Sneed, you have quite a nice cornerback room. And even if you rank them just based on current ability, they are just good. So B to me is very nice, very fine for what they are right now. So let's go for the coaches. And when I kind of raved about or like talked up the Detroit Lions, I would say this is still the creme de la creme of coaches. Andy Reid, again, the conversation starts to be, is it him or is it Belichick? One had Brady, one had Mahomes. I feel like it's kind of a second wave of the GOAT debate. Really does not matter. Matt Nagy actually, as an offensive coordinator, he has really good relationship with Mahomes. They know each other back from college. Definitely a duo that will work great together under Andy Reid, absolutely. And then you have Steve Spagnuolo, who is, when you talk about strictly defensive coordinators, so I'm not putting like defensive-minded head coaches in the debate, he's easily top 3. He might be top 1. Like, really, just an exceptional defensive coordinator, man. And overall, this, like, let's just say Reid and Spagnuolo duo is, they are crazy good. Then you have one of the best kickers in the league in Harrison Butker. And for punters, there is Matt Araiza. So he will be playing most likely his first snaps in NFL. And who he is, he was drafted by the Bills. Again, someone like Bills Chiefs draft connection. He was drafted in 2022 in the 6th round by the Bills. But he has been released quite soon because he was an alleged perpetrator in rape case on college campus. I'm not going to get into details. We are here like 2 years later. He's been clear of all the charges. He will be most likely prosecuting the guy that was prosecuting him, because there was, at least by him and his lawyers, it was much more about making him a victim, though it seems like he is innocent, but other parts of the suit or the case actually happened. It seems like he was kind of with her, then he left her, then she went to some other place where the alleged rape happened. Like, I will call it alleged because it still has not been proven by the court. But after that, he was brought onto the cell, like into and alleged to like organize that or being part of those crimes, which he was cleared of as of right now. So it's gonna be interesting to see him. It's obviously hard for both the victim and the alleged perpetrator to like kind of get the stigma off. But I will believe the judge that he is innocent. and I hope his career will and his life will take an upwards direction from now on. So with him, it's gonna be interesting, how the fans will react, because like I said, the stigma will still be there, though there was like no money being like charged to him that he would like use to shut her up in a way. He was really cleared of all the charges. He was nicknamed Punt God. He had one of the best college punt kicking season in his last year on the college, so he might really enter the league as one of the better punters. But after 2 years of the case of most likely having his life really hard, not to say that for the victim it's not hard, I won't go anywhere into that into details. It's gonna be interesting. If he even win the job, they sign him to 1 year, like kind of rookie deal, 800k type of deal. It's gonna be interesting if there is some backlash on this, because that kind of always is. And for Chiefs, if there's a backlash, he might be a casualty in terms of he is not worth the trouble. But we will see. It's hard to predict if he actually will play and what is going to look like when he plays. So let's get out of Matt Araiza topic and talk about Super Bowl window for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's easy. It's open. I mean, it's wide open as long as you have Mahomes. Obviously, when you saw how the deals were constructed, both Mahomes and Jones have much less money being counted against cap hit for this year than they will have years like next year. So they are trying to win this year, perhaps like more than they will next year, in terms of it's last year for Green Humphrey, it's last year for Irv Smith. Man, my memory is actually super bad for names. It's embarrassing in a way. Sorry, let me check this one. For Trey Smith, no Irv Smith. Irv Smith is obviously tight end that they have signed. So for Trey Smith, it's last year of a rookie deal. So yeah, definitely this year feels like they are in the prime window. Really, pretty much everyone that they need to have under contract is there. The biggest issue could be Rashee Rice and what's going to happen with him, whether he will be allowed to play next year. So wide receiver is a need, tackle is a need, defensive linemen are is a need. And that's where the drafts come. And as you can see in both of my mock drafts, this is just what I addressed, right? It's kind of similar players, like in the second case, like I was even lucky to get the same players plus an extra pick, because I drafted down and still were able to pick up Tyler Guyton. Sometimes the board just plays with you. But overall, like I just feel like you are sitting there. If there is a guy like 5 places from you that you actually want, you make, especially if it's a first round or a second round, you spend that additional third round pick you got from the Titans for Rajari Sneed to get your guy. Other than that, you just wait and you take the best wide receiver, the best tackle, or the best defensive lineman for you that is on the board, and you pretty much address the first 3 rounds like that. It should be a case that you will be able to do so, and with that, you just go for a three-peat. Will they make it? They are the second favorite right now, though the reality is they are behind San Francisco only because of the quality of the conference. So I think like head to head they would be favorites even against San Francisco. I feel like they are the best team in the league. They have issues. It's not like they are absolutely squeaky clean, but only 5 million in that cap hit. Just one really bad contract, one slightly questionable, but they can get out of Justin Reed if they want to and actually spend that money on someone else. So it's only Jawan Taylor that you worry about in terms of deal. And Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco, Rashee Rice, Chris Jones, obviously, Trent McDuffie, Creed Humphrey. There are so many great players on this roster. And combine that with, I would say, the best coaching staff in the NFL, one of the best kickers in the NFL. God only knows what Matt Harris is going to be, but there are just a few question marks on this team. And, you might very well see the three-peat, but as it represents by the Vegas odds, like their odds to win are 7-1, something like that. So even when I say I believe they are the best team, they say, okay, they will only win the Super Bowl like in 13% of the time. So when I was talking about San Francisco and not thinking about draw in the Super Bowl, that draw is just like the fact that Chiefs will win Super Bowl this year based on Vegas is just 2 times like the chance is just twice as high that you will face an overtime in Super Bowl like last year. So why would you not be prepared? And I will say that at last, Chiefs were prepared. They absolutely knew they had a strategy. They would actually pick to be starting as a defensive team if they have won the coin toss. So the fact that the San Frans, perhaps really not knowing the rules, made the same choice kind of says Chiefs were happy. You could see Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid were like, oh, really? Okay, good for us. So, good on you, Chiefs. Good job, and see you next year. That was episode 30. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, have a nice day. If you want to support me, leave a like, leave a comment, or see you on the draft date. First night, we will be definitely streaming live. Bye.